Welcome to US Eagles Find Your Balance podcast, where we talk about all things financial wellness. I'm your host, Alicia, and today we're joined by Nick from Savvy Money to talk about monitoring credit and understanding your credit report. So first, Nick, thank you so much for being here. Do you want to give our listeners a little background on Savvy Money?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and really thrilled to be able to join today's session. So yeah, Savvy Money is a credit score solution that is integrated into your online banking and mobile app at US Eagles. So you can access Savvy Money within mobile banking and track your credit score, see the different factors that make up your credit score, learn about it, ways to improve it, as well as access to your credit report.
Well, with that, let's dive in. So Nick, what is the difference between a credit report and a credit score?
Yeah, that's a great question. So your credit report is going to be a detailed summary of your credit history. Basically, it's going to include the different accounts that you've had. So your auto loans, your mortgages, your personal loans, different inquiries, any collections or public records such as bankruptcies, if that's applicable. And then that information is going to be actually sent to the three different credit bureaus. So TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. So that's your credit report. And then your credit score is a 3-digit number that ranges from 300 to 850 that is calculated based on the information in your credit report. Now, there's different scoring models that are used to calculate your different credit scores. So two of the most popular being FICO and Vantage scores. And lenders really utilize your credit score to determine your likelihood of paying back debt. So that's going to impact your chances of loan approvals, as well as the different interest rates that you receive. So one of the ways that I like to think about the difference between your credit report and your credit score is your credit report is kind of the data. And then the scoring model is that equation that helps you come up with your score. And then finally, your score is that number that those lenders will use to determine those various different decisions.
Okay, wonderful. Is there anything that someone should look for when they're reviewing, say, their credit report?
Yeah. So when reviewing your credit report, one of the most important things that you want to do is maintain that the information in your credit report is accurate. So just like we were talking about before, your credit score is built off the information that's in your credit report. So you don't want any errors or inaccuracies to negatively impact your score. So one of the most important things is first check for any inaccuracies or errors within your credit report. And actually, 1 out of 3 credit reports can have errors. So there, can be an indicator of potential fraud or, identity theft for things like that. So it's really, really important to not only check your credit report for those specific types of things, but also that it doesn't impact your score. Now, when looking at your credit report, when you're within the Savvy Money solution, you can go to the credit report tab, and it's going to detail and organize your credit report in a very user-friendly and easily interpretable way. And some of the most important categories that you need to look at is going to be your personal information. So making sure that your name, your address, your employer, that information is accurate. Because if it isn't accurate, it can be one of those good tells that there might be some identity theft going on. Some of the other things that are important to look at is going to be that trade line. So those account information. So making sure that your auto loans or your personal loans that might appear on your credit report actually belong to you. And then when you click on your credit report for those specific trade lines, making sure things like the balances and the limits in your payments are all correct. Because again, you don't want those things to negatively impact your score. And then finally, some other things that you're going to want to look at is that inquiries tab. So inquiries can actually impact your score for those hard inquiries when they occur. So making sure that no one's been applying for credit in your name, again, could be an indicator of fraudulent activity or identity theft. And then finally, reviewing your kind of public records.
Okay, so, with all that, I'm assuming that it's important to consistently check those scores. How often are you able to do that?
Yeah, so that's another great question. So again, within Savvy Money, which is located within US Eagles online banking and mobile app, you actually have access to your credit score anytime and anywhere. So wherever you are, how often you want to check it, you have the opportunity to do so. Now, you can also refresh your credit score and credit report every single day. And then if you don't access Savvy Money or go in to refresh it manually each day, it's actually going to automatically refresh every 7 days. So keeping up to date with how your score's changing, any changes to your credit profile is really, really, really important because your credit score and credit report are crucial pieces to your overall, financial well-being.
And does checking, or, if I go in and I check my credit score through Savvy Money, does that impact my credit score at all?
Yeah, no, another great question. So checking your score through Savvy Money, no matter how many times you do it, is going to have no impact to your credit score. So what Savvy Money does is it performs a soft inquiry, which means when it's pulling your, refreshed credit report and credit score, it's going to have no impact on your score or your report. Now, oftentimes what people hear is when you're checking your credit score, there can be times when it gets impacted. Now, that's what's referred to as a hard inquiry. And that's occurs when, a lender is pulling your credit report or credit score to make those decisions on any credit that you've applied for. But no, checking, your score within Savvy Money is going to have no impact on your score.
Okay, good to know. And so, Nick, how can people use, any credit monitoring to improve or maintain their credit health?
Yeah, so credit monitoring is one of the most important things to maintain, a financial wellness aspect and to ultimately protect your credit. So by enrolling in Savvy Money, you're going to be automatically have access to credit monitoring alerts email. So anytime there's a change to your credit profile, you're going to get notified, and that's going to help keep you aware of any potential changes, whether those are new accounts that appear, again, going back to this theme of any fraudulent activity or potential identity theft to keep you aware of. In addition to monitoring your credit, consistently checking it is really, really important as well, and staying up with your score, because anytime that you're, say, interested in applying for a mortgage or an auto loan or a personal loan, you want to know where your credit stands to see, what interest rates am I going to be able to get approved for? How much money is this going to cost me? And is this a reality to ultimately achieve my financial goals? So, maintaining and protecting your credit is a really, really crucial thing to ultimately achieving your overall financial goals.
Are there any other ways like Savvy Money can help our members stay on top of their credit?
Yeah, so within the credit score solution, there's a lot of different features that can ultimately help you manage your credit. So a few that we can call out here is when you go into Savvy Money, you'll have access to features like the score simulator, credit goals, as well as the credit action plan. So the score simulator is actually a really cool interactive tool that's going to help you understand how different financial actions are going to impact your score. So whether you're curious on, paying off a credit card or applying for new credit or transferring balances might impact your score, you can use the score simulator to insert those different financial actions, and you're going to receive a simulated score that's going to let you know, hey, if I do this specific financial action, what are the potential impacts that it can have on my credit score? Now, credit goals is a really cool feature that lets you actually set your desired score goal in the time frame in which you want to achieve it. So let's just, for example, say I'm a 700 credit score and I want to get to a 750 within the next 12 months. So if I set my credit score goal within Savvy Money, I'm going to be able to track my progress against that goal, as well as receive personalized financial guidance specific to me that's going to help me achieve that credit goal ultimately. And one of the cool things that we've actually seen for Savvy Money users is that goal users actually see an average score increase of 30 points within just 6 months. So that personalized financial guidance really helps them improve their score. And then financially, the credit score action plan, that is really a personalized roadmap to help you ultimately improve your credit score. So it's going to look at the different factors that are impacting your score. And for those specific factors, it's going to say, hey, Nick, payment history is, 40% of your credit score. Here are different things that can help you improve it regarding payment history and what's going to have the biggest impact for you in the shortest amount of time.
Okay. I love that. As just personally, I am really competitive with my family, my fiance and my mom specifically, and who has a better credit score, which is something that's, I don't know, I think kind of niche, but we're always talking about that. And I'm going to be using that tool to make sure that I have the best credit score. I love that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of gamification. And again, folks, once you start kind of, seeing your score, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind, right? But when you log into online or mobile banking and you see your score, you do kind of have that gamification and competitiveness to, hey, let's try to see if I can get that 850.
I love that. Does Savvy Money have any other features besides credit?
Yeah, another great question. So we have, the financial checkup tool, which is really a comprehensive overview of your overall financial well-being. So within financial checkup, first, you're going to have to take a quick little 5-minute assessment that's going to ask you different questions around, your overall financial life. And then after completing that short assessment, you're going to get things like savings information, a monthly budget, your debt to income ratio, and other key financial metrics outside of credit. And with that, just like all the different features within Savvy Money and Savvy Money, is you're going to get personalized recommendations to help you with those specific categories. So there are specific things in your budget. Maybe you're overspending on discretionary income for certain things. It might give you a recommendation to, lower your spending there, and it can have positive impacts on your financial life. And then one of the other resources that we have is regarding financial education. Under the resources tab within Savvy Money, you have access to the Your Money blog, and the Your Money blog is going to cover a wide range of financial topics, everything ranging from credit to, monthly budgeting and all that sort of stuff. And those blogs actually get updated weekly. So if you're interested in learning more about specific topics, you can go into the blog, search any specific topic that you're interested in, and get that financial education that you might be searching for.
I love that. And, as a credit union, USC Gold it's very important for us to have financial education out there. So I am very much encouraging all of our listeners to check out those blogs. So I think that's important. And then another question, Nick. So can I see specifically how my credit score is calculated in Savvy Money? Jumping back to credit within Savvy Money. But yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to see exactly how your credit score is calculated. So right under where you're going to see your score when you go into Savvy Money, we have what's called the score analysis cards. So the score analysis cards are going to break down the different factors that are impacting your credit score. Payment history, credit utilization, account mix, so on and so forth. So within each of those score analysis cards, you're going to get the education to better understand for this specific factor, what is the percentage impact that it has on my credit score? So for example, payment history makes up 40% of my score. And then you're going to receive personalized guidance based on your unique credit profile into how you're doing for that specific category, ultimately helping you, work on any improvements that you have for that specific score analysis category.
I love that. I am actually really excited to dive into the tool. I have not used it yet, but I'm excited to do so. And then Nick, do you have any final thoughts on why Savvy Money is a powerful tool and maybe why our members should be using it?
Yeah, I mean, how long do you have? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so Savvy Money One, it's going to not only help you track and understand your score, but it's also going to work with you to improve it and ultimately help you along your overall financial well journey. So by looking at the score analysis cards and truly understanding, hey, what is my credit score? How's it calculated? Why is my score is what it is? And how can I improve it is really, really important. And then you're going to have those interactive tools like credit score goals and the score simulator that's going to help you, quickly or easily improve your score to get it to that place where you want it to be. And then finally, in regard to the credit monitoring alerts, that's going to give you a proactive way to manage your credit report. One, to ensure that there's no errors that are negatively affecting you, but also keep you aware of any potential fraudulent or suspicious activity that is harmful to, unfortunately, a lot of folks.
Great. Well, Nick, thank you so much again for being here. I know you touched on it in the beginning, but just for our listeners again, can you tell me some stats about how some users have improved their credit?
Yeah. So one of the, stories when you were talking about, the credit goals and wanting to improve and have the gamification, we actually had a user that had a great credit score. They were around the 800 mark, and they wanted to get to that perfect score. That was just one of their goals. So they set a credit goal and set it to 850, and were actually able to achieve a perfect score, which I know is really, really rare. But, that was one really, really important thing. And regarding credit monitoring, we hear a lot of stories about how that alert helped notify them of harmful activity, and they got ahead of it. So it didn't impact their score and it didn't impact their life in general. So those are a bunch of the stories that we get to hear that make us happy that, we're helping consumers on their overall financial lives.
Well, thank you, Nick, for being here. I am definitely going to be sharing some of your blogs because I think that our listeners and our members overall need to get as much financial education as possible. So I will be sharing some of those. But to all of our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.